there were similarities for me related to that event, obviously caused by very different catalysts, but 9/11, similar things where there was a smoke plume, a lot of confusion with regards to what was happening, air quality changing based on the way in which the wind blows. And in the Palisades in particular, and I want to acknowledge that there's fires burning all over LA, and I as Mike said, know many, many people also who have lost homes and studios and businesses and their livelihoods and their memories.
What is the situation in your area? How is your neighborhood affected?
So we live southwest of downtown Los Angeles, right across the bay from the Palisades fires. When they broke out, I was on a bike ride and I could see them breaking out. These fires are different. You know, people who live in Los Angeles are pretty tough. We're used to wildfires, earthquakes, and mudslides. Usually, though, one knows one or two people who are affected. In this case, we know hundreds of people who have lost their home or who are battling to save their home as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, look, this disaster has had a good deal of attention from across the world, which has something, I suppose, to do with the collection of Hollywood A-listers who have been affected. Does those ultra high-end neighborhoods and the way they've been hit and the pictures we're seeing all over the globe, does that make a difference to the effort to fight the fire? Does it help provide resources, or does it make no difference in that sense?
It really doesn't make a difference if you look at the neighborhoods in Los Angeles who have largely been spared. Last night, there was a very scary fire that broke out in Hollywood. That fire was extinguished rather quickly, but the fire in Pacific Palisades, which is a much wealthier neighborhood than Hollywood, Pacific Palisades, that fire has continued to linger.
Really?
The people there have suffered tremendously. And those are some of the wealthiest people in the city, and they continue to suffer.
Yeah, I mean, again, I repeat that I don't want to be thought to be focusing on the cosmetics here, but we read, and again, there's a lot of attention, Mike, on the fact that the world famous Hollywood sign could be in danger. We're hearing earlier, and it could actually burn down. Is that a concern? Because it's an iconic piece of the landscape.
It is a concern. There's so many iconic and historic properties that we've already lost, things that people internationally might not have heard about, but they might have visited on a holiday here. The problem here is that we have historically low humidity, plus it has not rained since May of last year. And on top of that, the winds were 85 to 100 miles an hour. It's been a really awful set of conditions. But then again, our leaders are also guilty of poor planning. You know, people knew this was coming. We were sent warnings about a week ago that it was going to be catastrophic, life-changing winds that could lead to wildfires. And then yet, we saw things like, evacuation routes were not staffed by personnel. People were abandoning their cars in the middle of the road, which blocked the fire engines because they didn't know where to go because we were not staffing these things. We've seen crises with hydrants running out of water. A lot of these things, you can't control the wind, you can't control Mother Nature, but with good planning, you can try to mitigate some of these things a little bit.
So you do lay a certain amount of blame at the door of people like the mayor of California, Gavin Newsom, and the governor of California, and the mayor of Los Angeles. You think they've let you down?
Yeah, these are members of my own political party, but I also think that this is a time for radical candor and brutal honesty, and I do think some of the blame lies with them. We had a president of the United States named Harry Truman right after World War II, and he was very famous for saying the buck stops here. I mean, look, I'm the president, and anything that goes wrong is my fault. Anything that goes right is my credit. That is the type of attitude that I think would be refreshing to hear from our leaders, because they do share some of the blame when it comes to planning. They're the ones in office. We expect more out of them.
I mean, the political recriminations, Mike, has gone pretty high up the food chain, the political food chain. What do you make of Donald Trump Jr. Talking about LA firefighting equipment being sent to Ukraine, or for that matter, Donald Trump, who's torn into the California government? I know you're not too happy with him, but also Joe Biden.
Well, you have to, with the politicization, right, you have to separate, it's almost like throwing out the high estimate, throwing out the low estimate, and coming somewhere towards the middle. Bernie Sanders tweeted, "This is all because of climate change." He's wrong. Donald Trump tweeted, "This is all because we don't send enough water from Northern California to Southern California." He's wrong. This is largely an event caused by weather, but some of the logistics, some of the planning things, that is where the critics are right. those criticisms, whether they're coming from the right or the left, and whether they're targeted at the right or the left, those critiques are correct. They're not the most newsworthy critiques, it has nothing to do with Ukraine, but they do have some merit.
All right, Mike Gatto, good to talk to you, and good luck, Mike, for the future. I can talk now, I think, to Sara Fitzmaurice, who lives just half an hour from the Palisades area, which has been so smitten by the fires. Hello to you, Sara.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I actually live a little closer than that. I am about a little over 4 miles from the center of the Palisades.
That sounds painfully close. What can you see where you are?
So it really depends which way the winds are going. But the morning that the fire broke out, my daughter, who's a college student, was spending the night at her boyfriend's family's home in the Palisades, in the Alphabet Streets, and we were out walking the dogs and saw this huge smoke plume, and we couldn't tell if it was a smoke plume or the clouds. And shortly after that, my daughter texted me and said, we're being asked to evacuate the Palisades. There's a fire. As Mike said earlier, we're used to fires and other natural disasters in Los Angeles. And I said, great, get your stuff and head on home. And it got worse and worse. I went to pick up my other daughter at 26th and San Vicente, where I captured some video and stood in that neighborhood, which is just adjacent to the Palisades, more or less. With my own eyes, watched how rapidly the fires blazed down the hills and changed. Within about an hour, it had fully changed. You could see the flames were probably 100 feet high, moving incredibly quickly. Both of my daughters are students in St. Andrews, so we visit quite a bit, and in Scotland, and experience those strong gale force winds. We had winds like that in Los Angeles, and that is why that fire moved so quickly.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine, Sara, what it must be like to be you in this situation, because I know that you were in New York City, weren't you, on 9/11?
I was. I lived downtown. There were similarities for me related to that event, obviously caused by very different catalysts, but 9/11, similar things where there was a smoke plume, a lot of confusion with regards to what was happening, air quality changing based on the way in which the wind blows. And in the Palisades in particular, and I want to acknowledge that there's fires burning all over LA, and I as Mike said, know many, many people also who have lost homes and studios and businesses and their livelihoods and their memories, physical objects that create memories. But this the whole neighborhood has been burned to the ground in the Palisades. The Alphabet Streets in particular, which I would draw an equivalent for Londoners maybe to Chelsea, if Chelsea burned to the ground around Sloane Square and the surrounding neighborhoods, the surrounding structures and houses. It is like that. It is unthinkable, unfathomable. It looks like a Hollywood movie set. And my heart goes out to our dear family, friends, other people who have lost their homes, their community. It's not just you've lost your home, you've lost your whole neighborhood, you've lost your grocery store, your doctor's office, your shops that you frequent, your coffee shop. Literally burned to the ground like a Hollywood set.
Yes, Sara, my heart goes out to you. It must be a dreadful position to be in. How are you bearing up? You'd have had, and you're used to the sort of warnings and the measures you're advised to put into place, having a grab-and-go bag ready to get out quickly, to keep your valuables somewhere you can pack them up and run, all that sort of thing. It must be quite a strain, though. And to have your escape routes planned, all of that.
So fortunately, our direct family did not need to evacuate. We're in the Venice area, so a little bit away from the center. But, we have been trying to be of support here to family and friends. The family that did lose their home that we're closest to happened to be out of town. We are going to try to get up to their property to see if there's anything left today, which I know will be, if we're able to make it, will be very heart-wrenching. That Palisades fire, from what I understand as of this morning, is still 0% contained. So obviously we won't make an attempt to get there if it's not safe. But we have seen other families returning to check out their property and finding literally like the outside fence and the fireplace standing, and that's it. The rest is rubble and ash.
How awful that must be. People have got a way often of coming together and helping each other out at a really difficult time like that. Are you seeing that there?
Absolutely. LA is a strong community. I saw that in New York after 9/11 as well. I think most people are coming together. I know many friends are sheltering other families in their home. I've heard stories of people taking in multiple animals. You have to remember too, in the Palisades, because some of it is a bit more country-ish, there are large animals also up into Malibu, horses and things like that need to be rehomed temporarily or housed temporarily. People have come together. There's also, on the flip side, like humanity, really poor examples of people looting. And my daughter's high school class, I think she knows personally at least 5 families who have lost their home. One family loaded up their car, parked the car at a friend's house where they were sheltering, and their car was stolen overnight. I think the people that stole the car were looking for cars that were loaded up with things from evacuees. So that kind of thing is very upsetting. But by and large, LA has come together. There's a good, strong sense of community.
Yeah, I mean, that looting and the theft that's going on, that's a horrible story of people taking advantage of other people's misery. And again, Sara, what about you? Have you got your, I don't know, necessities, your vitals, the bits and pieces around you that make up your home life and your home? Have you got them ready to go to get out of the place if you need to? Because I'm just choosing what to take away and what to pack. That's got to be an emotional process. I mean, you kindly agreed to share your own experiences on here. How's that been for you, choosing what you leave behind and what you take?
Yeah, we weren't really faced with that. I did, as I thought about my dear friends who lost their home, I did go through, what that process would be, and what would matter to me. And what I've been trying to just share with my daughters is that home is where we are and home is where we make it. And, I have a wonderful rabbi friend, Steve Leader, who keeps posting about support. And reiterating that it really is about the people, the experiences. We actually did Thanksgiving in London this year in Airbnb, and we had, with the family that lost their home, we had such a beautiful celebration, and it was nothing about our stuff, our dishes, our memories, let's call it Granny Silver kind of thing. It was nothing about that. It was about people coming together, cooking over food, making a memory and sharing. So that's the lesson I'm trying to teach my family. I am so grateful that we did not have to evacuate, and it does not appear that we will. But the other fact is there are things that are simply not replaceable, that are material goods, whether it's a gift or a family heirloom or the like. And unfortunately, there is a huge amount of loss for so many with things like that.